So I want to make a quick video here on why hypnotists are fixated with fixation. Now, if you are not a student hypnosis, you don't know much about hypnosis, you will probably have an image in your mind of a hypnotist being somebody swinging a watch and asking someone to watch the watch or something like that. Or perhaps an old school mesmerist creating eye fixation, look into my eye, this kind of thing. And if you actually look back on the older videos on this channel where I'm out doing street hypnosis, you will see the vast majority of time I start off a process by getting a point of visual fixation usually. We're going to talk about other forms of fixation, but visual fixation. So I'd be doing a card stick. I'll say pick a point on that card that you can focus on intently.
Just a quick note to say that this video is sponsored by the forthcoming training, The Tao of Adaptive Hypnotic Changework. So if you want to learn hypnotic changework with me here online at the end of September 2024, if you sign up today, that's the 20th of August 2024, you can get a significant discount. If you want to check out more information, just click the link in the About section or in the little pop-up tab somewhere here in the video.
Right? Or I might say just pick a point on your hand that you can focus on and just allow yourself to become fully absorbed. Okay, something like this. So I'll start off with this point of eye fixation. Now, I want to talk here about why this is important in the process of facilitating hypnosis, hypnotic experiences, these kinds of things, but also why it's really a powerful tool for helping people create any kind of change in their life. I'm talking about deep, lasting, sustained change, transformation in the way they're showing up in the world, the way they're engaging, their experience of things. Because to me, this is where the real value of hypnosis is. You might see those early videos here on the channel, me doing the street hypnosis. That's interesting stuff to explore with. It's fascinating stuff to explore with. But for me, the real value of hypnosis, if you want to call it that, and hypnotic protocols, this sort of thing, is helping people make real and significant changes, helping people improve the quality of their lives and the results that they are getting, okay? And fixation, which is what we're talking about, has an interesting role in this, and I'm going to explain why. So, first and foremost, in a sense that hypnosis is always about change, right? If you look at a street hypnosis piece, you're getting a piece of hypnotic phenomena happening. Let's say I want to go back to that example before. I want to take a playing card, I want to get that stuck in someone's hand, or I want to get them into the experience of it being stuck. I want to get them into an automatic experience, experiencing a stuckness in their hand that they just cannot let go, right? Really experiencing this fully and vividly. What they are absolutely not doing is running their normal everyday associations, okay? We human beings live inside of an experience of reality that is created ongoing by our habitual association sets. Inside of the Hypnosis Mastery Program 2.0, people who have got that will probably remember me talking about this idea of the game frame. So I often put it inside of this, where people are naturally playing their everyday game. People walk the way they walk, they talk the way they talk, they think the way they think. They have habits of mind, cognitive sets, this kind of thing. If you're doing play hypnosis, any kind of silly hypnosis, anything like that, you're getting people to step out of those normal cognitive sets, those normal cascades of association they might live their life through, and into something else, into a different organization of reality, right? So there's a letting go of and a stepping into. And this is just about a simple change, because something like a card stick, focus on that card, feel it sticking solidly, it's a temporary change, okay? It's a temporary change suggested and shaped by the hypnotist with the participation of the person being worked with. But what about deeper changes? Okay, and why is fixation used in trance induction? Now, in order to address that, I need to hold my hands up and say a couple of things. Number one, I am the Hypnosis Without Trance guy, right? So going back, the whole message of Hypnosis Without Trance is you do not need a special state called trance in order to render people particularly open to suggestion and getting hypnotic phenomena kind of happening. I also, elsewhere, talk about trance in a different way, which is trance is any state of mind or being that you are in that kind of fully consumes you and from which automated behaviors and responses emerge. So on the one hand, I'm saying old school conceptions of trance I don't think are necessarily on the money, but there's also when Milton Erickson, who is probably the biggest influence on me as a hypnotist, when Milton Erickson talks about trance, he's talking about something you might call therapeutic trance, or what Stephen Gilligan's called generative trance. Now, this kind of trance is less a becoming gripped by a new organization of reality or an existing organization of reality. It is more an expanding out of any organizations of realities, and it is a falling out of thinking and into a much broader set of potentials and possibilities. Okay, so it's very expansive. I've often talked about this elsewhere. People often talk about trance, deeper, deeper, deeper. When I'm doing change work, if I'm going to use formal trance, I want to get it more expansive, even informal, right? If I'm doing conversation, I'm often increasing the sense of possibility and expansiveness within the client's mind and being, so that they can process their materials in a different way, okay? So fixation. Why is fixation a useful and powerful tool? One of the places I really started to use fixation a lot back when I was experimenting with street hypnosis is when I was doing impromptu name amnesias. So I started out doing these based off not necessarily Ericksonian work, but actually from an idea from Dave Ellman. Now I have to think back, it's a long time since I engaged with this, but Dave Ellman, he used to do interesting things where he would sort of suddenly jar someone and go, oh, right, to get what in Ericksonian terms we might call a pattern interrupt, or at least Banner and Grinder's rendering. That he'd go, oh, someone would go, what? And he'd go, something really strange has just happened. And they go, leave it hanging. Your name has just disappeared from your mind. Try and see it, it's gone, right? So it's an impromptu kind of pattern interrupt and a suggestion dropped in there. Now I started to play around with this years ago. I noticed that people would often in that moment, they go, and they would do what in NLP is called eye-accessing. So I recognized them eye-accessing going to have to go through a set of internal processes in order to retrieve their name. Now, normally a person would just do that in the flow of, just, they wouldn't pause. But if you ask someone what their name is, they'll usually eye-access briefly beforehand. Okay, now eye-accessing is a signal that somebody is doing internal processing. They are running down a rapid chain of associations in their mind in order to retrieve what it is they want to retrieve. Okay, in this instance, the name. So when I was doing this kind of Ellman style name amnesia thing, I'd noticed the eyes going off to retrieve, and I would rapidly bring them back. Right? I'd say, look at me, try and say it. What was your name? Look at me. And I would bring people back. And while they were there going, what I would be doing is constantly interrupting their natural process of associations, partly by keeping their eye fixed on mine, and also partly by every time they'd start to go to access, I would interrupt it. All right. So I remember Anthony Jacquin, people who know Anthony Jacquin, said to me years ago, he said, James, you don't really do a name amnesia. You just keep interrupting the accessing of the name. It's not quite the same thing. And I pointed out, though, that hypnosis is about creation in the semantic realm as well. So even if that is what it is, as soon as you frame it as amnesia and somebody buys into that reality, that becomes their organization of reality. All right. Some people will get that. Most people won't, but maybe you're one who will. So this is where I started to go, hang on a second. For me, anyway, this is where I started to kind of key into, maybe this is what this is always about, right? Maybe this is what this is always about. Maybe this is always about somebody just not being able to run their default processing in that moment. Now, this is a hugely significant thing, because now I'm going to talk about change work more than I'm been talking about sort of card sticks or whatever it might be, or name amnesias. When you are looking to help somebody make a change, if they have a quote unquote problem, what that means is there's something that keeps happening over and over again that they don't want. They want things to happen differently, but they keep happening over and over again in the same way. That might be a behavioral response, it might be an internal response, a feeling set, whatever. There is something that just keeps happening that this person has stepped outside of and they thought, I don't want that, I want something different. And yet when they find themselves back in the relevant situation, whatever it might be, that thing happens again, okay? Now, what this means is that every time they're going and doing this thing, speaking unconsciously, they're doing it unconsciously, they're doing the same thing. They're not doing something different. And this is one of the biggest problems when helping people make changes, is when you start to talk to somebody about their problem, what they tend to do is access that problem. They think about that problem in a habitual way. They're not doing fresh new thinking about it. They're doing the same old thoughts, the same old cascades of associations that usually kind of loop around, loop around, loop around. And those are not changing the problem. And oftentimes they are actually entrenching the problem. All right, so as a change work practitioner who works kind of hypnotically, and that means the strategic use of language and communication, as far as I'm concerned, hypnotic communication, one of my major jobs is to help somebody break out of their habitual association sets, okay? To be able to process the material of their problem in a different way. They cannot do it in a different way if they are going back into their old association sets. So this is actually where something like eye fixation or fixation in general, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a way that goes beyond eye fixation, is a powerful tool. And also where what you might call expansive trance or generative trance, because it helps them fall out of those habitual association sets and into a place of possibility where new and different creative processes can engage. This is why this is really important. Now, here's the thing. Classically, people think about eye fixation, okay? That's the classic thing. It's an easy thing to do. When you learn hypnosis and hypnotic work, it's a good starting point. It really is a good starting point. But actually, it's any kind of fixation or transfixation, becoming transfixed, right? Any of that's good so long as it keeps somebody off of their habitual associations, right? So it could be a mental image that's being focused on. It could be sensations in the body that are being attended to in different ways. It could be a formalized change work protocol, right? So for people who are familiar with NLP stuff, here's a thing that people don't necessarily realize. They often buy into the idea that an NLP process or protocol, let's pick one randomly. Let's say something like a swish pattern, all right? If you don't know what a swish pattern is, it doesn't really matter, all right? It's just a process. It's a series of steps you take somebody through in their mind, in their imagination. And often people think about that as something that is inherently reprogramming, right? But in a sense, there's another level you can think about this on. It's actually a process to occupy somebody with, to fixate their mind with, to transfix them with. While they are occupied with the steps of that process that the change work practitioner is leading them through, what they are not doing is going down their default cascades of association. But they are still focused in mind and intention. They know that this thing sits in the realm of the issue. So they are actually connecting with the issue whilst doing something completely different from what they normally would. So aside from what the process is supposed to do, it's a very powerful process of fixation that keeps somebody out of their standard sets of associations, right? And therefore creates space for what you might call their adaptive or their creative unconscious mind to come to different conclusions, right? Now, this is the thing. All change work comes out of shifts in deep understandings, i.e. coming to different conclusions. I'm not talking about intellectually. I'm talking about in a deep way outside of consciousness, right? We all live in the world the way we're making it up to be through our comprehensions, okay? Our sets of associations and distinctions that we apply to our sense making. It all goes on unconsciously. That is always what needs to change, all right? And I would suggest this is where the value of, say, an Ericksonian approach to hypnosis versus direct suggestion-based hypnosis change work. If you give somebody a suggestion, from now on you will do X, Y, and Z, a behavioral adaptation, right? They may buy into that for a bit because they believe they're in trance, but it won't go deep unless they make new associations or new distinctions, like at a deeper level, at what I call often the matrix of the problem trance, right? If they're not reorganizing things at that level, nothing will change. If you use direct suggestion to get change, sometimes people spontaneously, because that arrests their normal response set temporarily, it just creates the space for naturalistically deeper associations to take place, in which case, great, go ahead, work with direct suggestion work. But for me, knowing that that's what you want to happen at a deeper level, you may as well go there. And this is why I think Erickson's approach to facilitating hypnotic change work, which is seeing hypnosis as much more about creating a kind of environment. You could call it a semantic environment, but it's more than just that. That opens up space for somebody's creative unconscious mind to reweave those associations and perhaps create new associations and also new distinctions. So association and distinction are the two sort of engines about what we connect and what we separate. Those are the two engines of our sense making at a deeper level. So to recap, basically fixation, any kind of fixation where somebody is focused on, fixated on something different from what they would do by default, opens up the possibility to introduce new material for somebody to make new creative connections for their creative adaptive unconscious minds to engage and do new things. But the fixation is powerful in this way, whether you're using it in order to just keep somebody out of their current game because you want to do some play hypnosis, you want to get a bit of a fun amnesia going or something for whatever reason, you can use it there. It's a sort of short-term, superficial change. But if you're looking to help people really reweave their realities, create deep levels of change, understanding the nature of fixation is incredibly valuable. Now, I hope this has been a valuable video for you, a useful video for you. Obviously, if you have an interest in hypnosis, if you've got any questions about hypnosis, you can ask me. Questions about change, human change, right? Where does it come from? What does it actually mean? So many people that do change work don't even really have a coherent or cohesive theory of human beings and how they change and that kind of thing. They just sort of learn processes and stuff. I'm not making a judgment upon anyone that does that. I just think they're disadvantaging themselves by doing it. So if you've got any questions about any of that, you can ask here. I may answer on this channel. I may answer on my other channel, which is Hypnosis Questions Answered. If you're not subscribed to that as well, I recommend you subscribe to that. I do a different style of video on there. You can go and check the channel and see what kind of video I do. Either place, you can get goodness out of me that way. And if you're still here right now, you must have got something from the video. So please give it the thumbs up. If you don't want to give it the thumbs up, let me know why. And ask the questions you want to ask in the comments. Nothing else to say. I look forward to when we next connect.